Look, Maddie, I'm going to go straight to you. Let's have a look at this issue with pill testing. It dominates the Sydney papers tomorrow, and of course I refer to the Daily Telegraph and of course the Sydney Morning Herald. The Telly, very inventive front page, Matt, I know you'd be proud, is "Mad Drug Made A-OK." That's the headline. Reveal Coroner's radical agenda to legalise drug use. An exclusive here by Mark Morey and Janet Fife-Yeomans. Coroner Harriet Graham's full radical agenda has been revealed with recommendations for decriminalisation of personal drug use and that the government fund a permanent pill testing unit. At the same time, she has criticised police drug searches, saying they are potentially doing harm, while she says officers should be there to provide support and comfort to festival revellers. Now, I'll get to the Sydney Morning Herald in a second when I talk to Lisa, Matt, but of course it's very clear here where the Telegraph sits on this. It's very clear that this is a very contentious issue, and as I said last night, it dominated over summer. It dominated the headlines over summer. What are your thoughts on the Telegraph front page, Maddie, and what are your thoughts on pill testing full stop?
Well, it's a strong front page and a really good get by the Daily Telegraph, and no doubt there's going to be plenty of discussion about this tomorrow. Now, as you said, no doubt where the Telegraph stands on this issue. I think no doubt also, though, where the New South Wales government stands on this, and I'm sure you'll get to that in a minute when you talk about the front page of the Sydney Morning Herald. But, I mean, this is really interesting stuff. I find it quite fascinating that these would be the recommendations that would come from the coroner. I mean, we did see those deaths at music festivals over summer. I think it's a really tough issue, actually, Glee. So, you know, we are seeing people at the moment using these drugs at music festivals. We are seeing deaths at music festivals as a result of that drug use. Now, what's the answer? Is the answer to crack down harder on this, or is the answer, as is being suggested there by the coroner, to actually decriminalise the drug and test the pills? I think that is kind of an odd way to approach it, to be honest with you. I mean, I think really we should be trying to stop people taking these drugs in the first place, although that approach doesn't seem to be working at the moment either.
Indeed. All right, let's go to the SMH, and as Maddie said, it's very clear which way the Telegraph is going in relation to this particular story, and it's fairly obvious which way the SMH is going as well. Premier to ignore coroner's findings. Of course, the Sydney Morning Herald, a much more left-wing publication. Premier Gladys Berejiklian will ignore recommendations by the Deputy Coroner to introduce pill testing at music festivals, insisting her staunch opposition to illegal drug taking would not change. Instead, Ms Berejiklian will again attempt to impose safety laws on music festivals after the government's licensing regime was scrapped last month by the upper house. Now, she's quoted in this story as saying there is no such thing as a safe illegal drug. Now, Lisa, I know, you and I have got kids, Maddie's got kids. We sort of look at this issue from both sides, and we know that drugs kill kids, they kill young people, but at the same time, are we prepared to put the white flag up and call these drug festivals with a little bit of music rather than music festivals with some drugs involved?
Yeah, Glissa, as you say, we are all parents on this panel tonight, and it is such a tough discussion to have. It is such a controversial issue, and we have spoken about it for months on months. Clearly, we're going to see the coroner and the state government on an absolute collision course over this one. The Premier is making it very clear where she stands on this. But look, from a parent, of course, the message is no, say no to drugs. But we know the reality is, and we've seen it by being out there, as a journalist covering these stories as well, and we've seen it with the deaths that the coroner has had to look at. The message isn't getting through. So, look, I know it may not be the most popular thing to say, but, at least pill testing, it gives you some peace of mind, maybe, that if they are going to ignore the, don't do drugs message, that maybe a life will be saved. But I found it really interesting today that as part of the coroner's inquest, a dad who actually lost his 15-year-old daughter, doesn't support pill testing at all, which, comes as a bit of a surprise to me.
It's such a vexed and difficult question, and of course there'll be a lot of debate in coming months about whether, in fact, this sort of legislation should be introduced. But clearly, the coalition government in New South Wales have said no, we're not prepared to go that far, despite, as Matt said, a fascinating recommendation from the Deputy Coroner.